All right, guys, Andrew Bobros here. Hey, I want to do a real quick video on our draft class, kind of talk a little bit about Tom Telesco, Brandon Staley, why they drafted these folks. It's starting to come a little more into focus as to why these folks were specifically drafted. So let's get into it. All right, guys, this is a pretty good little article on Fanside Bull Beat, talking a little bit about the report card through 4 weeks, right? And again, I've said this over and over again. Your team doesn't really know who they are until really week 4, right? So I think now you're starting to sort of see the team that we're going to see moving forward this week. And I think this week, by the way, when we play the Browns, it's going to be a big test for us, right? Especially with our offensive line. They got some good pass rushers, but secondarily, look, we got a lot of free agents that we brought in to do what? Stop the run. And the team we're playing against is what? Leading the league in rushing right now. So I just want to give you my take on where we stand in 4 weeks with the rookies and free agents. Now, I'm going to be very clear. I've said this before. This draft was done and built more as depth, not as really starting key role players. Okay. I 100% believe that, right? And I've said this before that Brandon Staley sat on Santa Claus's lap with a whole list of players that he wanted. Tom Telesco went out and executed that entire list. Got Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson, all the above. So when you look at the draft, they had already taken care of most of their needs pre-draft, right? So the whole point was, all right, who could we get right now that would play week 1, right? And really the only person that was Zion Johnson. And he's done a fantastic job, right? So again, a lot of people are giving Tom Telesco heat for, hey, where are these rookies? Where's Isaiah Spiller? All these other folks. Look, we did a lot. I mean, even bringing Sony Michel on was a little bit of you could almost call it a misstep at this point because, he has not produced. I don't even know why he's getting as many touches as he is. In fact, in my opinion, he should be running back 3 at best right now. I would elevate Joshua Kelly. I think he's looking way better than than Sony Michel. So be interesting to see how that plays out moving forward. Having said that, I want to go through the draft class. I want to kind of give you my thoughts on each one of these players and just go through just some general, thoughts on each one of these folks. All right. So first off, we have Zion Johnson. The thing that I really think about him, he has been absolutely fantastic, right? And, again, he was the strongest guy in the draft. And I've said this over and over again. The reason why number 1 and number 2 round picks for the draft are so important is those are really NFL ready players for the most part, right? I mean, yeah, you may have a couple of concerns. I mean, are they that quick, or maybe they're not as fast, but they have a great body of work through college and high school. But Zion Johnson is one of those guys that worked his ass off to get where he's at. Strongest guy in the draft. I mean, absolutely amazing. I mean, a lot of people are comparing him to Rashawn Slater. Look, he's fantastic. He's done a great job. So, I mean, let's just see where he is on PFF. And again, I don't have my. So right now he's ranking 14th on PFF, 273 snaps, 0 penalties, and 0 sacks allowed. Guys, that's freaking ridiculous for a rookie, right? For a rookie, that is crazy, right? I think this overall number is a little low. I don't really understand why it's that low, but either way, he's fantastic. I've looked at him and said, man, he has such intangible benefits, right? Like his base is strong, his upper body is extremely strong. He does not get moved, and in run plays. The funny thing is, I've noticed also in the run plays, specifically with him, he gets to the next level and he wants to hit people. He goes out, hits a linebacker, he'll go hit somebody else. I'm almost shocked that we haven't had any more downfield, lineman downfield type of penalties against him because he gets so aggressive, right? But he does a really good job of managing those folks. I mean, I even think about the Chiefs game. Jones was on him for most of the game. He went nowhere. He went absolutely nowhere. He could not get past him. Then he went to Filer, and Filer got in, and actually that's where we started having some issues. And then Corey Linsley went down. So look, this guy gives him a B. I would easily give him an A, right? I think he's absolutely fantastic. If you watch the body of his work, he's absolutely incredible, right? So I'm extremely happy with this. But I also knew this was really the one guy that I would say that we really needed. We needed a guard. We lost Odeabushi. He was not very good. Now, you could argue our second pick probably should have been another lineman. So, again, our next pick is, of course, Tito Obonya. Now, Tito's actually been very good. But let me go back to exactly what I was saying about this draft. This draft was 110% built around depth. Think of all the people that we brought in on the defensive line, right? We have 3 new people, right? Obviously, Sebastian Joseph Day, Morgan Fox, a.k.a. Megan Fox, rawr. And then we got Austin Johnson, right? So Tito is in a very crowded room, right? There's, unless one of those guys go down. Plus, we got Covington's playing very well. We got Jerry Tillery, right? But he's actually done a very, very good job, right? And he's actually done a very good job at 9.4% stop rate. It's okay. It's okay. But again, he's a rookie, right? So this is a good pick. I think a B- is probably accurate. I think it's good that we got him. But again, depth. That's 100% what he is depth. I don't see, again, free agency was the talk of what happened in the offseason. They got everybody they needed in free agency. They did not need to get anybody else. They did not need to go get other people. They literally got their entire wish list. Okay, we have our team now. Most of the draft was depth. Now I will tell you, my next one that I'm going to talk about is really a great example. Jamari Salyer. To me, an A rating is perfect, right? So I do think our 2 linemen are absolutely fantastic. So then we said Jamari Salyer, look at this. He got 70 offensive snaps played, 0 penalties, and 0 sacks allowed. Now, I will say this. This game is going to be the big game against him, right? I think there were a lot of, you look at what he did. There was a lot of tight ends on his side, chipping, giving him a little bit of extra work, right? They kept things pretty simple for him moving forward. But I also say this too. I think the offensive line scores are a bit skewed, largely because Justin Herbert's very good at avoiding pressure, right? He has an extremely great perception around him. He sees, okay, this person's coming this way, and he steps up in the pocket. He just avoids that pressure. So he's making them look good, but also he looks really good. In fact, I would tell you right now, if you didn't have a number out there and you put Jamari Salyer in Zion Johnson's position, he would look almost exactly like Zion Johnson, okay? Now, the fact of the matter that Jamari Salyer dropped as far as he did in the draft, I think it was like 190-something pick, is a little bit shocking, right? Jamari arguably was the best lineman for Georgia. And what I kept reading was that, his size, they just didn't really feel like he was ready to go to the next step in the NFL. And it was really an awkward thing because he was literally one of the best, and he's played all over the line, by the way, left, right, guard. And so, it's really interesting that some players can drop down the draft board so deeply, right? Jamari, at least in most people's draft boards, was like 2nd round pick. But again, every team has specific needs, right? If you have no corners, I need a corner, right? I would love to get Jamari, but we need a corner, right? We need a quarterback, okay? I'd love to get Jamari, but we need a quarterback. So every team has different needs. And so that's why people drop down the draft. And again, it goes with needs. Some other team might have somebody higher than him. But again, his size was an issue. Speed was a bit of an issue. But boy, he just really showed he's an awesome player. And again, these are intangible. These are why undrafted free agents do very well in the NFL, right? Because, their size is bad. They're slow. Their handwork. Maybe they didn't do well. Maybe they didn't even practice, right? I mean, look at a Mike Bandy right now. He's an absolute fan favorite, right? Small guy, 5'10", not big. But man, he made 2 big plays for us last week. And so, look, my point is this was amazing. And for a guy that really and truly we probably thought was more of a depth pick, stepping in the way he has, my God. I mean, making Tom Telesco and Brandon Staley look like absolute geniuses. So I'm really excited to see this. I think that Jamari as an A rating is absolutely amazing. So I'm excited to see that for sure. Xander Horvath. Now, I would give him a B+ as well, too. Now, the good thing about him was, and it kind of sucks because we lose Gabe Neighbors, but the reality with Xander is he is a better fullback, right? And you could argue all day that Gabe was good. Well, the thing about Xander that I really liked, and again, if you guys will recall, way back in the days, I wanted the Chargers to draft Tyler Algier. Tyler Algier is killing it right now for the Falcons. I knew he would be an amazing running back. The reason being is he was a converted linebacker and moved into a running back position or a halfback position. Xander Horvath was a converted linebacker moving to this position. When you think about a fullback, you want a guy that can hit, right? Also, he's very good at special teams. And so, he just adds more depth. And I think a B+ is absolutely perfect at this point. But again, when you think about it, moving forward, Xander Horvath has a lot more upside potential, okay? And, really, bottom line, he's been a fantastic pick, and I think he's going to be with us for a very long time. And it's good to see, his value. The one thing I will consistently say about anyone that the Chargers have ever drafted or have they picked up, they have multiple purposes, right? They do not want one-trick ponies. They want people that can play a number of different positions, right? And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that a little bit later on in this video as well, too. So this is another great example, right? So these all have no grades, okay? At least in this article. Now, the reality is this, is they probably should have no grades because they've pretty much not been on the field. Again, what did I say? This draft is about depth. Luckily, we have not had a lot of injuries in the running back room or really in the secondary. So guess what? These guys have not played. Now, the good thing for us in this situation is this, guys. One, that they are sitting there on the sidelines, learning, seeing film, understanding how to play the game, and getting better. I'm going to talk about a couple people first. Jasir Taylor's played some special teams. He's done a pretty good job in that as well. JT, I think he's a gunner. I think he's been the gunner a few times. JT Woods has played mostly dime, and he's been in for just really when you're going six-man prevent defense. He's been okay, essentially a non-factor. Dean Leonard's really done about the same as well, too. Mostly dime, so on and so forth. Having said that, I'm going to talk about Dean Leonard and Isaiah Spiller a little bit more. Dean Leonard, if you recall in the preseason, he had that one game where he got burned. Now, I want to do an entire video on that. He actually was positioned fairly well, but his body wasn't positioned well in the NFL. Now, when you look at the college game compared to the NFL game, in college, you can kind of get away with some plays like that a little more where you're kind of you're in the face of the wide receiver. But in the NFL, it's not that way, right? You've got to position your body correctly. The good news is Dean wasn't getting burned. He was where he needed to be. He just wasn't positioned properly to defend the ball or defend the pass or defend the actual wide receiver. So a lot of good things that you can talk about with Dean Leonard, Jasir Taylor, and JT Woods. Now, I'm going to go to my most controversial piece here. Isaiah Spiller, he's fine. I personally think they should move him up to a running back 3, and they should move Sony Michel down or cut him loose. I really do believe that Sony Michel has not really benefited our team. I think it's a big reason why our team hasn't done very well in general. I understand the concept of having a veteran like a Sony Michel on your team because we got him cheap. But bottom line, look, at the end of the day, Isaiah Spiller deserves a start. Now, any injury that happens, Isaiah Spiller is going to be up, of course. They always like to run 3 running backs. We all know this. Seeing Austin Eckler, finally get his legs underneath him, have a great week. I suspect he'll have a good week this week. Now, what I would do personally, if I was the offensive coordinator, obviously Austin Eckler, I would move Isaiah Spiller to number 3, and then obviously I would get some more touches for for Joshua Kelly. I do think, though, it's been very interesting to see, where this is going to go moving forward. And again, I'm going to wrap up my final thoughts. And guys, hit that like and subscribe, and also check out our merch at the bottom of the Zazzle link underneath. Look, bottom line, this was a depth draft, 100%. We're lucky. We're so lucky that we hit with Jamari, right? Because, losing someone like a Rashawn Slater is like, oh my God, the sky is falling, especially with the rib injuries with Justin Herbert. I mean, good God. What if he takes more shots like that? And he's been one of the least hit quarterbacks in the league. So I know people have started saying, hey, the running game's not there, yada, yada. But look, bottom line, we've done a great job on the offensive line. And Jamari Salyer's a big part of it. Zion Johnson's a big part of that. I'm very curious to see how we do against the Browns this week. I do think we'll do well. Overall, I would say for a depth class, I think this is a very good, I think we're a B plus probably is what overall rating I would give it at this point. But again, there's a lot to discuss. There's a lot to focus on moving forward. And these guys are there for depth for the most part. I mean, really the only two that are not are going to be Zion Johnson and Jamari Salyer for this year. But what do you guys think? Where do you think Isaiah Spiller should be? How do you think Jamari and Zion stack up? What do you think their ratings should be? Give me your thoughts below. And as always, guys, bolt up. See you guys in the next one.